Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
May God bless you. This message was pre-recorded and automatically programmed.
This is episode 171, recorded August 31st, 2022.
Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Doc Rotten, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host Jeff Mohr and I will tackle another classic, or not so classic, film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. With me this week is my co-host, Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how are you doing, sir?
I'm great.
Great!
I'm actually looking forward to talking about this movie.
This one's been hovering on our list for some time. Also joining this week is Bill Mulligan, a writer, director, special effects guru, and all-around nice guy. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, this one's been flitting about in the background.
Boing.
I think I'm going to have more fun talking about it with you guys than actually watching it. But that's
that's
why I love this podcast.
All right. Also joining us is Chad Hunt. Chad Hunt, the chosen sufferer. He is comic book artist and co-host of Decades of Horror, the classic era and the 80s, and Heroes and Droids, and any other podcast you can think of. Yes, sir. Chad Hunt. How you doing, sir?
Batty. That's all I got.
That's all you got.
That's all
right. We're here to review A Chosen Survivors from 1974. Like we said, this movie has been on the tips of our tongues on many a podcast, and from the very beginning, it was a part of our list of to-do lists for quite some time. For 171 episodes, it was on our to-do list. So finally, we found a copy that was we could watch. It was watchable on YouTube of all places. I don't know how long it's going to be there, but it was there long enough for us to watch it. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about this. I am excited about catching this film and watching. Of course, it is a vampire bat film, and we've talked about vampire bats on the, because of Nightwing, and then there's the extreme ones like The Bat, which is the Bat People rather, which is where they actually turn. There's all kinds of crazy bat movies from the 70s. And so I didn't realize how much of a bat movie this one was. So this is going to be fun. But let's get into it. What we're going to do is start off with, when did we first see this? Which I think it's all going to be the same. And what was our first impression? Chosen Sufferer, sir. I'm going to start with you.
I didn't pick this.
I did.
Okay. First time I've seen this movie ever. First time I ever heard of it is when you guys announced it that we were going to do it. So my first impression is I fell asleep watching it the first time, and I finished watching it today. But it's definitely 70s, a 70s movie. Definitely 70s movie. It has some really cool actors in it. It's had Jackie Cooper in there, Bradford Dillman, and a lot of guys that we run across in these podcasts, in the movies we watch. So, and it's an apocalyptic tale, and it's a movie they made. It's a movie they made. I don't know. I kind of liked it, and then I kind of was like bored to tears by it at the same time. I was kind of hoping by the end the bats would have eaten everyone, and they didn't. So some people lived, and that was a shame.
That was too bad, huh?
Yeah, that was a damn shame. But yeah, it's I haven't really made up my mind about it yet. So I'm kind of hoping to hear what you guys have to say about it too, to kind of shape my opinion a little bit more on it.
Oh no, the chosen sufferer is conflicted. Oh, we must guide him out of this confliction.
He's not sure if he's chosen or not.
Yes. Bill Mulligan, sir, how are you? Your lighting is fantastic. What is your first impression? When did you first see this, and what was your first impression of Sir Survivors?
First time I saw it was a couple days ago. I had heard of it, and I remember seeing ads on TV, and I kept waiting for it to show up on late night or cable. I don't think it ever did. I'm sure I would have taken advantage to watch it, but I don't think it ever, and I don't remember seeing a VCR or a DVD or anything. So this was kind of a holy grail kind of thing. I'm not conflicted. I'm not too crazy about it. This is the second week in a row that we've had humans versus some kind of animal, Empire of the Ants, and then this one. And once again, I'm rooting for the bats. In fact, I wish that the ants had shown up, and then we could have had like a really interesting fight between giant ants and vampire bats. This just feels like a TV movie from the 70s.
It does, doesn't it?
Maybe a little,
a
little better, but and it's shot like a TV movie. I couldn't find a whole lot of good pictures because I realized there aren't a whole lot of good pictures to take from this. It's very claustrophobic, and also I think they shot the version I saw looked like it was shot through a diffusion filter, and I don't know what that was. If anything, I would have thought that trying to convey how sterile and inhuman these surroundings are, you would go for something less romantic. I mean, every shot seemed like they thought Joan Collins was going to come walking around the corner, and they had to get some more gauze on the camera. I like bats. I think bats get a bad rap.
Let's leave it right there. I like that.
Well, okay, they don't scare me. They don't scare me in the slightest because I've had to like catch them and take them outside when they got into someone's house, and they're actually kind of sad and pathetic. Once you get them on the ground, I don't know how they work. You just feel bad for them. They're like little mice with wings, but not very good ones. So, and vampire. So let me just throw this out there. I had one big problem with this movie. I was buying it. I was going along with the premise. It's like, okay, vampire bats, they need blood. There's been a nuclear war. Everyone's dead. There's no blood. So they have absolutely no choice but to attack these people and do what vampire bats never actually do. Fine. And then it turns out, no, that's really not the case. So that leaves you with the question, why are these vampire bats doing this? Yeah. And they never answered that to my satisfaction, and it kind of took me out of the movie. Not that I was that deep into it in the first place. I mean, I wouldn't tell people don't watch it, but I would say set your expectations low.
Set them low. Put that bar on the bottom rung. All right, Jeff Mohr, sir. When did you first catch Chosen Survivors, and what was your first impression?
I think Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
Ago. But because Santos Ellen Jr. talked about it, he would frequently throw that up. I just remember.
He would just out of nowhere.
So I bought the Blu-ray from, I think it was a Scream Factory.
You have the Blu-ray.
I do. And there's a really interesting commentary on it. I forget the guy's name, but it's almost like he's a historian, Richard Harlan something. Anyway, I apologize for not having that. But so what I found very interesting is I thought it had a lot of cool visuals, but they were kind of spoiled by what Bill was talking about. I felt like you were looking through a haze all the time. Almost.
So even the Blu-ray looks that way?
Even there's not really a sharp focus. Maybe not. No, actually, the version on YouTube is the Blu-ray.
Okay.
It's a Kino Lorber, and it says it has a big Kino logo. So let's see. First impressions. Keep it short, Jeff. So I kind of enjoyed it, but it was kind of like, oh my God, what a bunch of nonsense. The whole thing going on between Cooper's character and Richard Jekyll just seemed a little like two banty roosters button chests or something, and then you could, I don't know, although there's a twist in there, and I'm sorry, but I didn't see it coming, and it ain't the bats. So
it ain't the bats.
And it is
batty. It is batty.
It is. So anyway, and the bats are like, so So this movie is, when they're doing practical effects, looks pretty good in my opinion, and when they're doing optical effects, it looks like crap.
It looks like
I mean,
70s.
when they have the one room with bats in there, and it actually looks like there's real bats flying around in that room.
Apparently there were.
That looks pretty good. Richard Jekyll takes to him with a pillow, but when he's in the elevator shaft and the place is filled with bats, that was just ridiculous. And the Golden Gate Bridge, oh my God, what in the anyway. But I found it interesting. Part of it because of the history, because there really was a plan like this.
Oh man, that's it's not hard to believe that. Not hard to believe that. All right.
No.
So this is a movie that, until it was mentioned by Santos Dillon Jr., I knew very little to nothing about. I'm not even sure I knew anything about it. It was like, what is this film? It is more sci-fi-ish than horror, but I guess the killing is horror. I mean, it does kind of that nature's amuck kind of blend. Yeah. So the reason to watch this, outside of the novelty of it, is the cast. The cast, which I'm doing the card out of order for some reason, so we're going to do that here shortly, and you'll get to see who all the cast is. But that's the reason to watch it. The cast is pure 70s gold. Yeah. I mean, everybody in it is fantastic. See, they agree. And that's vampire cats, not bats. I can't say I liked it, but I wasn't bored by it. I was into it. I was enjoying it, but it kind of chops its own self off at the knees, right? Yeah. It kind of undermines itself toward the end. And the only thing that saved it at that point is Bradford Dillman's really wacky, over-the-top performance at that time is the only reason why it still works, even then. It could have been bloodier, but it was a PG movie. It's very, very, very much feels like, I mean, it does have some blood in it that wouldn't be on a made-for-TV movie. Mm-hmm. But I think it would be played on TV if it made it, but they wouldn't make it that way back in 74 or 73. Yeah. But it does feel, it's shot very well. And when we talk about the director, I think we'll see why. But so I'm kind of in Chosen Sufferers camp here. I'm kind of torn. I want to like it, and there's reasons to like it, but it's not very good. And I'm wondering what in the heck is going on there. So it's very interesting. All right, before we get into discussion, let's take a step back and show the card, because I totally forgot.
Jacob.
Yes, Richard Jacob, the great Richard Jacob. I'll watch anything he's in, to be honest with you. Yeah. Chosen Survivors, 1974, directed by Sutton, Roley, written by Joe Reb Moffly, Harry Spalding, credited as H.B. Cross for whatever reason. The cast includes Jackie Cooper, Lincoln Kilpatrick, Bradford Dillman, Richard Jacob, Gwen Mitchell, Dana Mulder, Barbara Babcock, and Alex Cord, Filming locations are in Mexico City, Mexico. Released in May 22nd of 1974 in New York City, and I guess later on. And Synopsis: after being selected at random by a computer to seek safety in an underground bomb shelter on the eve of a nuclear attack, a group of refugees makes a horrible realization. They are sharing the space with a colony of vampire bats. And the only reason this thing works as a sharing a space vampire, and that's make it scary, is because people misunderstand what vampire bats are. Vampire bats have that mystery, that mystery to them, that lure that isn't necessarily appropriate for them. But not that they can't be, because there are certain species that I believe are, but not this one.
But
what?
Because of the nuclear holocaust, they had nothing else to feed on. Yes. Maybe. Wouldn't they be like glowing in the dark? Wouldn't they be radioactive bats? That would be awesome, right?
I see. That would have been cool.
All right. Let's take a look at some of the posters. Let's get the feel. Okay, this poster is fun. It's an art poster, illustration.
Mhm.
And the bat, logo in there is quite good. Don't you think so, Chad? I mean,
I
as an
do.
artist, yeah.
It reminds me of Batman.
It does remind
It
me.
kind of
of that,
does, yes. But
They're not trying to hide the bats.
no,
No.
not at all. And I do like the strange lettering, and instead of being on the left, it's to the right. That's interesting.
Well, it kind of captures the claustrophobic feel of the movie too. You got,
It does.
a little bit to me looking at it anyway.
Well, that also lets the guy have a toehold as he's climbing up the letters to try to get to the top of the poster.
I didn't even see that. That's awesome. Here's a couple other posters. One is the very 70s. Let's put a bunch of heads at the bottom of the poster, which was if you ever saw the posters for Towering Inferno, Earthquake, and all those, yes,
Kenny Irwin Allen.
all the war films that had like a big cast, they would have all the heads down at the bottom. It was, to be honest, when you in the 70s, you looked for that. I know it seems cheesy now, but it worked in the 70s because you wanted to see your favorite actor in that, and in those 8 or 10 people.
And then the top one looks like from Japan. It looks like some guy, his dog ate a bunch of stills and then threw up on a poster board.
Yeah, and that's not it's not surprising for 70s Japanese posters. They're interesting.
Oh yeah,
they're an art form all to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we start? Do we just jump into this director? This Sutton Roley fellow, who did a lot of TV, a lot of TV, Sixth Sense to Mission Impossible to SWAT, Bronx Beretta, Hawaii Five-0, Kojaks, Vegas, Starsky and Hutch. Now, some of the interesting things he did a TV movie called Satan's Triangle, which I think I remember. And he also did the Curse of Dracula TV series. Does anybody here remember that? Okay.
I do remember that.
But yeah, everything else is TV. I think earlier he did a movie called The Loners, which was a biker film.
Yeah.
But before that, he did Rat Patrol, Man from U.N.C.L.E., Lost in Space. He did a number of those. Raiders, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Combat there for Jeff Mohr. I'm sure you've seen many of those. Rawhide, he did a couple of those. Wagon Train did a couple of those. So, he definitely had his education and his in TV
and it shows
television, and it shows. But is that part of the charm here? Is that part of the problem?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know if there's any rescuing this movie because the script and the characters just really didn't do it for me. He did show an occasional flourish. I like the shot from below the table when they're dissecting the bats and you have everyone around him. And he did some good composition with these very limited sets. By definition, they'd be limited, and how he was able to show the different characters in there. But since the characters weren't all that compelling, it didn't really matter. But it definitely has that TV movie feel. Like there's a lot of talking. This movie is basically nothing but talk. And not a lot of camera movement, the way you would when you're you got to make an hour or a half an hour TV show in a week. There's not a lot of time for getting fancy crane shots and all this other stuff. You learn to work efficiently and quickly. Yeah. And that's what this looks like.
Yeah. And of course the location doesn't really lend itself for that either.
Right.
Except for maybe the climb up the silo. Jeff, what do you got?
Well, a lot of the people we do on Classic Era started in movies, and then in the 50s they kind of slide into TV because there's so much more work. This guy started in TV in 1957 and stayed there for the most part.
For the most part of his career, yeah. I'd imagine that when he was hired for this was originally going to be a TV movie, and it probably got bumped up.
Or it could be if you have a low budget and you don't want, some auteur who's going to blow the budget, you get someone who has made SWAT and, Love Boat and all these others because this person can deliver. They on TV, when you're making TV shows, they don't give you 8 days to finish it. You finish it in the amount of time you're given. So it's a safe bet. Maybe you're not going to get art, but that's probably not what they were going for here anyway.
Well, it's also probably safe to say that for studio films, the directors are work for hire, right? They're not generally hired. It started to change in the 70s, thanks to films like The Exorcist and probably Godfather was a big change in that and stuff like that. There was this independent movement that happened in the late 60s and early 70s, like brought Coppola and Spielberg and all the rest of those kind of people to the forefront, and then that changed everything. But until then, if you weren't Hitchcock or somebody or Billy Wilder, you were basically work for hire, right? So it's not surprising. Not surprising. Now the writers of this one, the Joe Reb Moffly guy, he doesn't have a whole lot of credits, but Harry Spalding, who was credited as H.B. Cross for some reason, did Curse of the Fly.
Yeah, originally this was going to be produced by Robert Lippert, who was a big B movie in the 60s. And apparently Harry Spalding worked with Lippert a lot. But if you look through Lippert's credits as a producer, it's all these great B movies like Last Man on Earth. And he's not, it's weird. This movie, The Fly, is listed under his credits, Lippert, as the executive producer, uncredited. But so like, what else did he do? Last Man on Earth. God, I saw like 4 or 5.
Hand of Death and The Day Mars Invaded Earth. That was a favorite.
The Earth Dies Screaming.
Great titles.
So anyway, that's at least that was the trail that I got on how Harry Spalding got connected with this, and maybe why he changed his name or something, or maybe I don't know.
Maybe
H.B. Cross.
Yeah. Now it was produced by these strange collection of production companies: Metro Media, Alpine, and E Studios, Churubusco, Azteca.
Because it was filmed in Mexico, right?
Oh, well, there you go. And it was distributed by Columbia Pictures, which, basically they're.
Hey, you know what I'm wondering? Were there any good taglines?
There was.
What are some of the taglines, Jeff?
Well, one was they were chosen to live, but they were destined to die.
That's actually pretty good. That's not bad.
I kind of like that. 1,758 feet underground. A perfect world program for man's survival, except for
the chosen survivors.
That's the problem. Except for, and then you look down, and there's the title of the movie. So it's like, so the chosen survivors are going to be killing the chosen survivors. I'm confused.
Yeah. So anyway,
speaking of one of those producers on here, the one Charles Fries. Or Freeze, I don't know how you would pronounce it, but Doc might remember. But it was he was one of the producers of the Amazing Spider-Man TV show.
No, nice.
Nice. No.
Yeah.
Hey, that show was successful for a while.
Yeah.
For sure,
yeah.
There's one more tagline.
It was pretty good.
Yeah. There's one more tagline I like. Just a few chosen to survive a world Holocaust. Yeah. Okay. You just repeated the title.
Yep.
Like,
then
good. I wasn't clear on what it meant.
Yeah. And then one of those comparisons that just doesn't work. Not since Willard or Ben has there been anything so terrible.
Why is it one or the other? Why did you have to put Ben in there? I guess because Ben.
I don't know.
If you put wings on Willard, it would look a lot like a bat.
Yeah. Well, you said they were like mice, so
they are. They're like little. Oh, they're so sad.
Well, the reason they filmed in Mexico was the bats.
Yeah.
They said it was a lot cheaper to take Hollywood to the bats than it was to bring the bats to Hollywood.
That makes sense because Hollywood not do the bats.
It's not a story.
No, it's not.
They captured them. They threw nets over them and they used them. So when he's like slapping bats out of the air with his pillow, he's slapping bats out of the air with his pillow, I think.
And slapping bats. He's a bat slapper.
They're kind of delicate. They don't do that well. They got hollow little bones to fly and everything. So a lot of the bats died. And apparently some of the actors were really appalled by the treatment there. And, this wouldn't go in Hollywood, but they went and requested that even Hollywood movies filmed in other countries should probably have some baseline level of decency in the way they treat animals. So,
Yeah. Well, and in fact, those same people, Jackie Cooper and Barbara Babcock, they had a requirement on the movie to get vaccinated. and against rabies, and they refused.
They refused.
They refused to get vaccinated?
Mhm.
Yes. And I think it was actually probably pretty clever of them, because then they had to put up shields.
Oh, okay.
Then they
All right.
sort of like, if you didn't want to play hand to hand with a bat,
Okay.
you refused to get.
Well, no, that makes sense, because otherwise, if it's like, oh yeah, we're capturing actual bats in a Mexican cave and throwing them at you, it's like, oh yes, I need some vaccines. Give me all the vaccines.
They said they went through like 4,000 bats.
4,000 bats! Holy crap!
Wow.
And it was filmed and shot
That's
in and
awful.
around Mexico City. Yeah, there you go.
Now, I've been down to Mexico, and it is true. There's a lot of bats. There's some good sized ones too, flying in and out. It really impressed me when I was a kid, just how many bats there were.
Well, that's one of the things, like what, and Bill brought it out at the beginning of the show, that totally threw me off halfway through the movie when they tell you it was all just an experiment, to see.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure since there's no apocalyptic landscape outside of the dome, these bats would have had plenty to eat outside
changed.
of squeezing through a 1-inch slot in the wall to get at these people.
Right. If they haven't been killing people up to now, nothing has changed to make them want. I mean, that's the thing. This movie, at every step of the way, doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense that these people would be randomly chosen. What are the odds that a computer randomly picking people ends up with a millionaire and an Olympic level athlete?
It's like Gilligan's Island in a apocalyptic bunker.
That would have been more exciting. Have Gilligan's Island been?
They never really
I'll be the Alan Hale character.
They never really explained how the bats were getting in. I mean, they supposedly went around, sealed everything up, and it made no difference whatsoever.
I think you could just chalk it up to this was planned by the government.
Right,
Yes.
right. And then when they do that whole scam where they hook up the electrical grid and like turn all the lights off to suck them in, they totally forget the whole concept that they can't really keep them from coming into other rooms too.
Mm-hmm.
So the woman who is
but we get lots of
they get what they deserve. All right, Jackie Cooper. Jackie Cooper's in this. Where do we? Jackie Cooper, of course, was the Superman. He was the first version of Perry White, right? At least in the movies.
He was also Jackie in The Little Rascals.
Yes, I was getting ready to say.
Yeah.
And
he's a great familiar face. He's likable. His character was awful. The only reason it's bearable is that it's Jackie Cooper, and I never believed for a minute that he was actually as awful as the character was written, because it's Jackie Cooper. But the character was terrible, and you want him to die first.
He gets drunker than hell, and then tries to rape Barbara Babcock, or does, I guess.
Yeah, I think he does. And no one talks about it, and then it's forgotten.
And then a little later, he comes in and apologizes and expects everybody to just follow the leader.
Well, he's basically the bad guy. I mean, there's two bad guys, but he up until the second one's revealed, spoilers, he is the bad guy. And they gave him bad things to do, and it was kind of cringeworthy.
Well, he can do great things if he has great dialogue to say.
The actor's great, but the character and the dialogue terrible.
No, and you're wondering, why are people putting up with his shit when it's like, hey, I'm a multimillionaire. It's like, dude, we don't need the toilet paper because that's all it's worth now. Just sit down over there, and nobody cares.
So what, Jeff? Modern audiences, how are they going to remember Jackie Cooper? Is it going to be from Superman, or is it going to be from Little Rascals, or is it something else that we're not mentioning?
Well, I think modern is going to be Superman. I mean, he's another guy. I think if I went through it, he's just been in a ton of stuff, but not an out front name, audience drawing, ticket selling character.
Definitely knew who he was.
132 credits. I mean, dang.
Well, where I remembered him from was the original and I forget the champ with Wallace Berry, I think.
Oh, yeah,
he played
yeah.
the kid. It was the one that was
Mhm.
redone with John Voight and
Yeah.
little Ricky. What's his name?
And that's where I first ran into Jackie Cooper, was the Little Rascals. So when I saw him as Perry White, I was like, hey, that's Jackie from the Little Rascals.
Yep.
But I agree with Jeff. Everybody nowadays is probably going to go, hey, Perry White, instead of Little Rascals. But
Yeah.
And hey, give him credit. He's one of those rare. I mean, he was a child star who then kept right on working up until the end. That's kind of impressive, because most of them.
Yeah.
aren't
There's only a
able to do
few
that.
of them out of the Rascals that did that. So
yeah.
He was actually nominated for an Oscar in 1931.
Oh wow!
Wow. Was that for the champ? What was that for?
At the age of something called Skippy. At the age of 9 years and 20 days,
Oh wow!
was the youngest ever nominated.
Skippy. Well, there you go. All right, Bradford Dillman, one of my favorite actors. We've covered many of his films from the 70s because he did a lot of cheese. Bug is my favorite. Of course, Piranha, right? I mean, I don't even have to pull him up. I know what stuff he did. And then
A lot of television too. Yeah.
He's just got one of those faces.
Yep.
Let me interrupt you just for a second, though. But he ended up winning Primetime Emmys for directing episodes of MASH and The White Shadow.
Who's that?
Cooper.
Jackie Cooper.
Okay.
Yeah. So he moved into behind the camera stuff
That
too.
was
All
smart,
right,
which
I'm
is
sorry.
always a sign of smarts. Yeah.
And he definitely had some sparks.
And we just mentioned The Swarm earlier. He was in that.
Lucky him.
Who was Jackie Cooper, or are we back to Bradford Dillman?
Dillman.
Okay.
Dillman,
I was like,
Dillman.
Cooper's in that too.
Well, I was saying Cooper had 132 credits. Dillman has 142. So neck and neck.
Yeah, there's one film. Well, there's a couple of them. He still has a couple of horror movies on his list, but one that we'll probably do sooner or later is Moon of the Wolf. That's one of the early werewolf TV movies that we got in the 70s. I don't know if you guys remember. There was like a slew of them. You guys remember? There was a slew of them.
I remember there was a werewolf thing going, but I don't remember that one.
Oh. Yeah. That's is that the one? That's the one with Clint Walker, right?
It could be. Let's look. No, it's David Jansen, Barbara Bush, Barbara Rush.
Barbara Bush. I was like,
Barbara
wow.
Rush.
Baba Booey.
Jeffrey Lewis.
Baba Duke.
So no, this is a different one.
Which one? What was the name of it? You said
Moon of the Wolf.
Okay. God dang, I thought that was.
Yeah, and that's the one where the VHS box actually had Lon Chaney Jr. werewolf on it.
Oh wow!
It was like one of the later ones where he was, wasn't as like from the House of
right.
Yeah, it's terrible.
He did such a good job with this character, though. He really tried to do something with this character, with the jitteriness and the stuttering later on when he found out everything.
Oh,
he would have made a good.
When he does the whole reveal.
Yeah, that was just a great scene. That was a great scene.
And that's some of the you'll see in the shot there. That's some of the few times the director actually did a shot that's not typical TV.
Yeah,
that shot where it's kind of look how they're everybody's staged and everything. That's there are some rare shots like this where they actually do, and the one above it as well where he's in the foreground. So
there was some good composition in there. It's just.
But the location is very bland because it's all metal walls, right? And,
and I guess maybe that's why he went. Maybe that's why he went with the diffusion filter. But I think it was a mistake.
Ooh, I wonder if it was too much reflection.
Now wait a minute.
What?
I'm sorry. I might have to cut this all out. But you talked about the wolf one, and what did you say that they made a bunch of somethings?
Werewolf films in the 70s.
Oh, God. I totally misheard you. I thought you were saying a bunch of those Dan Curtis movies because he did.
Well, they did do a lot of Dan Curtis movies too, but only
Scream of the Wolf. Scream of the Wolf is Dan Curtis with Clint Walker. So just
Clint Walker. There you go.
Yeah, we're cutting this out.
Oh man, well let's look at some of the others. We have Lincoln Kilpatrick, right?
Yeah. It's
people who is really good in this. Yeah, it's people.
Yeah.
And he gets like a lot of solo time as he's climbing up.
Yeah, he
does. That's the most suspenseful part of the movie. Although we all know what's going to happen. Nobody.
It's just a matter of time.
A matter of time.
I was just wondering how are they going to handle when he lands, and for
1,755.
Yes, but it would be a lot bloodier if he did that. But how they handled it, I thought was pretty good for the time and the show and being a TV type movie.
So. He was also Omega Man and so sorry.
No, he was also given a little bit of character development, and when he does his monologue about being an ex-athlete and all that, which was fine, but it felt forced. Like the trick with this movie, they had to come up with a way to establish who these characters were, and they didn't do a very good job. And stuff like that, and some of the others, it was a lot of telling us and not showing us. You know, I don't know, just.
Oh, he played. Okay, I know who he played in the Mega Man now. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was good in that.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff. Great American.
I think he had a regular part on Matt Houston. I don't know if you remember that in the 80s.
And there was that cringy moment where Cooper's character is going off. You know why he's here? He's a stud. You're like, okay. We're just bringing some casual racism in here.
It could have been worse, though. It could have been worse.
It could have been worse, but in some ways that made it worse because the guys, we know what he's saying. We know what he's feeling, but he doesn't want to say it openly because I guess that would be wrong.
Yeah.
He was also in Prison, the Rennie Harlan movie from the 80s. Remember that one?
I do. That was when you said, this Rennie Harlan's got a feature, because then he did a couple of films, and then now he's like, I don't know what he's doing now. Something happened along the way.
He did Cutthroat Island. That's what happened along the way. He
lost
a lot of money.
There you go. There you go. So we have other cast members here, including Alex Cord.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, Jeff.
So out of this whole cast, who would you have expected to be, just from their history and typecasting, to be the hero? At least for me, it would have been Alex Cord. I expected something else. He's the rugged, handsome individual, and he's like a nothing.
He's
a nothing.
He's like every annoying college professor I ever had.
He spouted a lot of annoying dialogue. That's for sure. When especially the fist shake at the one scene he did.
The fist shake.
Yeah.
He just goes like that to him.
That expression on his face there pretty much tells the tale. It's just like, how did it?
And they're actually, Lincoln is the closest thing to a hero. Even though he doesn't pull it off.
He should have been the hero. He should have been.
Gives it the old college try. Yeah, I was rooting for him.
Yeah. Of course, we love Richard Jekyll. At least I do. I'm sure you guys do too.
Jekyll.
Oh my God. He brought more than any to a film, often more than the film deserved. Yes. Look at Green Slime. Or look at this movie, for example. One thing I liked about this was most of the cast got their names underneath them as they were being brought, very clumsily, because they were supposed to be drugged into the thing, and they would stop and they were doing their names, and then it said Richard Jekyll, and it was like this, nothing. It was like, oh, okay, he's already there.
That scene went on for way too long.
It was weird too, right?
Day of the Animals.
Oh, Day of the Animals.
Yeah.
His only purpose in the movie was to make us think he was the sketchy guy. If there was going to be any big reveal, it was going to come from him. But then it turned out it wasn't him.
He actually thought it was real. He was very much thought it was real. But Dirty Dozen, Richard Jekyll's Green Slime, Latitude Zero. Latitude Zero is another film Santos is responsible for introducing me to. So.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
And like I said, he brings more to the movie than the movie actually deserves, and that's one of the examples.
That's a good example.
He played sort of the cop character in the Spencer for Hire TV series too, which I always liked, and he was very good at.
And he's Grizzly. He's the Quint of Grizzly, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He's in both of those.
Mm. All right, so we have the bad attacks,
Dark.
which we got. Yeah, the dark.
The dark.
We've covered all these films too. We got to get the rest of the Jekyll library in here.
Yeah. There's your
Yeah, there's the two deaths that we do get, right? They are kind of
For sure.
gruesome.
Yeah.
The one girl, that scene when they discover her is pretty gruesome.
Right.
And who's the one at the top? Is that the?
That was the Spanish guy. I can't remember.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think it might
yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Was that Lewis? Pedro?
Pedro
Yeah.
Almodovar.
Yeah.
Cooper gets killed. Yeah. My bad.
The angle they shot it at and everything, I think it looks more horrific from the angle they shot it.
Yeah.
Than it actually.
They have that
actually
camera
is.
shot from under the table too, and it's like
Yes.
Yeah.
a glass table, so her like bloody face is mushed.
Right,
against
right.
Yeah, it's kind of like this shot here. They
Was.
did it again
Yeah.
with the bats. So
Yeah.
yeah, they had it
Fuzzy.
set. They had it set up. They said, "Bring her in, put her down." We got the camera set up.
Now, it's not much in terms of makeup effects or anything, but it sells the point. If you're freaked out by bats, I'm sure this movie would freak you out. I just find bats about as scary as I find snakes. So if I'm watching a snake movie, there are people in the it was terrifying. I'm like, it's a freaking snake. I pick snakes off the ground all the time.
So bats, snakes, spiders.
No, I don't like spiders. God, no.
I'm toast.
Spiders,
I'm toast on
scorpions. Ooh, no.
them.
Monkeys with knives.
Razors. Well, Jesus, no. God.
Monkeys with knives is chimpanzees with knives. But I had an encounter with a bat because we had an outdoor in the house we lived up in Northern Virginia. We had this outdoor utility closet. It was actually attached to the house, so it wasn't a shed.
Mm-hmm.
And we kept stuff in there, and I got in there one time to go get something, and a bat was in there flying around and scared. And I was like 5 or 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that. It scared the Jesus out of me. And ever since then, it doesn't take much for me to go, ooh, it's like for a bat. And even though they aren't harm, they're not even going to come near you, but I don't like to see them flying around.
That's how we've been trained to feel about bats from years of watching horror movies.
That's true.
And my experience was at my grandparents' house, and all the women in the house. We're probably talking late 50s, maybe around 1960. All the women in the house ran and grabbed newspapers and put them over their head.
Yeah, because they're supposed to get caught in your hair. That was the big
Oh no!
Hey, I have a bat story for you, real quick. When I was a kid, a bat flew into the upstairs window of the house, and it was on the wall. My mother comes down screaming, "There's a bat! There's a bat! Get it out of here! Get it out of here!" So my brother and I, with our football helmets on and whatever else.
Oh my God, that's great!
One of us had a broom, and the other one had a giant cake pan. And we were somehow, without a plan, going to trap this bat in this cake pan.
In the cake pan, yeah.
So we're creeping up on the bat, and it's we're about 3 feet away. And the bat did that same weird crawl over that, like it did over that girl at the beginning, that weird. And we both looked at each other, turned around, went back downstairs, and said, "Call animal control."
I've got a similar story. One of them flew into my daughter's house, and it was up to me to get rid of it. And I used a pillowcase, much like they did in this movie, except I wasn't trying to kill it. I was trying to capture in the pillowcase. And I wish someone had filmed this, because I think it was the best combination of He-Man bravery and sissy boy cowardice that you could ever put together. Because I'm like going up at the bat like a real man does, but every time he did anything unexpected, like breathe or move, I'm like, and so I did succeed, and I got him out of there with my dignity intact. So, well, no, not with my dignity.
What did you guys think of the color schemes?
Weird
or lack of it.
Everything was monocolor. It was like the green
TV
room,
movie.
the pink room, the yellow room, and then they were dressed that way, except the only guy who didn't wear monochromatic clothes was Richard Jekyll. He had a striped bathrobe that matched the stripes on the wall in that room they were in. Gray, blue, gray, white, whatever. It was the goofiest thing. I just thought, and then I thought it was kind of neat though. And then how they had all those tubes, and they didn't like bundle them together. They had them like a couple inches apart, all these little, and they were all different colors going up those, I don't know what they were, chutes or shafts or whatever they
bat holes.
That's done.
Bat holes. Be careful.
Yeah.
We should say something about Barbara Babcock. Wasn't she the mom in Salem's Lot, right? To the kids, to the boys, or was she? She's in Salem's Lot, but I'm trying to figure out what character she was.
Sounds about right.
Because I think she was the mom for our teenage hero and his brother.
When
right?
I
no,
see
not the
her,
two brothers, but
yeah, all I can think of is Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, because my wife made me watch every single episode, and I loved her in Space Cowboys. She was great, which is one of my guilty pleasures.
Yes, yeah, she's the mother of the guy that ends up with David Soul.
There you go, the kid. Right.
Yeah. She was in.
What was the name of that show he was in? He was in like something at 16 or something. Never mind.
James at 16.
James at 16.
James at 16.
Yeah. She was also in Hill Street Blues.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. She was good in that too. Great.
She was an episode of Munsters. And guess what the title of the episode was? Bats of a Feather.
Oh my God!
Wait just a minute.
You gotta love that. You gotta love it.
And she was in The Lights of Zatar. She was in one of my all-time favorite bad episodes of Star Trek.
She did 6 episodes of Star Trek.
Oh wow!
That's crazy.
Huh. Well, the originals. Wow. Was she playing the same character?
No, not at all.
Wow.
Like in Zatar, I guess was she just a voice? And then, there's a bunch of them where she's just a voice.
Oh, yes, you're right. Huh. I guess they liked her
Apparently
voice.
the voice, go-to voice, huh?
Go-to voice. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up because we're all getting kind of batty here. Let's give our recommendation. And let's pull out a favorite scene. What thrilled you about this? Chosen sufferer, sir. You are first.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
I will recommend it for its weirdness. I would. I'm sure there's somebody out there that will like this movie when they watch it. Just for the pure 70s cheesiness of it. So I can't quite pish posh it and say it's that horrible that you shouldn't watch it.
No pish poshing here.
No pish poshing. But yeah, so I'll recommend it, but it's for discerning tastes. So yeah, but my favorite scene is when the bat pushed the glove out of the hole in the cake.
Yes, thank you. Two gloves.
Yeah, I mean the gloves just moving and then it falls and there's this bat going. One bat and then a billion fly through.
Yeah.
Come on, boys, let's go. We got something to do. Bill Mulligan, sir. What do you first? I'm going to ask you a different question. Okay. What do you think audiences of 1974 thought of this movie at that time when they went and saw it? Is it the same kind of ridiculous we see it, or do you think it had more potency back then?
I feel like when they saw this movie, they said stuff like, "I sure hope the next film on this drive-in triple feature is."
Yes.
It's just a schizo little movie. I mean, you could have made a good movie about the premise of 11 people being tossed in there and everything, and you could make a good movie about a bunch of people being attacked by bats. They kind of mashed them together and then put in a twist that invalidated all the premises. It doesn't make a lot of sense. The script needed a complete rewrite. But for all that, listen, if you like 70s movies, and if you don't, why are you listening to this podcast? This is about as 70s as it gets.
Yep.
So
it needed a second twist, is when they open. If he got to the top and opened it up, and it actually was a nuclear.
Yes.
Then that would have been awesome, wouldn't it?
Doc, you're a genius. That is exactly the ending that they should have had. 100,000%. And then we cut. They're all looking horrified, and we hear the fluttering of bats behind them. Fade to black.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Lost opportunity. Good call, Doc.
Jeff.
Well,
What?
first,
Let us have it.
well, I got to throw this out a little bit. There was a plan, literally in the, I think it was in the 50s, with all the atomic tests going on, and they had this Cheyenne Mountain complex run by NORAD that was 2,000 feet below the surface and had a capacity of 600 people. So it really was a thing. And the people that were supposed to go there were required. It was mandatory, that they all had to agree to do that. So anyway, and one little thing, I think we talked about this. I know we talked about this before, but I think maybe it was on 80s. But Richard Jekyll was best friends with Robert Blake.
Robert Blake. We did talk about it.
Yeah, I know we talked about it before, but I think it must have been 80s. I guess it could have been classic era. But anyway, and Robert Blake said he was best friends with him till the day that Jekyll died. And he said he liked Jekyll so much because he was the only guy he knew that was crazier than him.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy.
That's strong talk.
It changes my thought of what Richard Jekyll was like behind the scenes.
Of course, Robert Blake also was part of the gang. Yes.
Yeah.
Little Rascals.
Anyway, I think you have to see this, and if you're a fan of this podcast, you have to see it because it was something that
Jeff's just trying to justify buying the Blu-ray right now.
I know.
Not at all. Hey, I bought Blackenstein. And
I can. Well, Ape. Yes, I would do that too.
I bought God Monster of Indian Flats.
That I would.
Santos Ellen Jr. talked about something that you got to see it. I wanted to see it.
Okay.
If it wasn't out there at the time.
Fair enough.
Find it. So I still don't understand all of those, but but this has some interesting stuff. There's something about the way it looks, although it's almost like they didn't really know how to take advantage of it, but it's very antiseptic and all these weird colors. And that woman that did the TV things, the morning wake up thing was a woman named Kelly Lang, and she was an LA newscaster. So I kind of wondered if that wasn't why if that wasn't like an inside joke when one of the people said, why did they pick her? Because she was a talking head that smiled a lot. I don't know. Anyway, favorite scene, I shouldn't because of the animal cruelty, but when Richard Jekyll was swinging that pillow, it was like batting cleanup once he got the rhythm down. I'm literally like going, oh my God, that sounds like those are real because they were thudding against the wall. And
I hope the one the guy smashed against the cave wall with his hand wasn't real.
I think it was. This movie is an oddity, even for the 70s, to be honest. It is, because it feels so disjointed. Like, is it it feels like a TV movie, but it does have elements of a movie, and then the cast is strange but awesome, and then the plot, we talked about that. I'm still torn even now, but I'm glad I watched it and I enjoyed watching it. And I think if you do watch it, you watch it for the cast, you watch it for the novelty of it, you watch it because you're a completist of watching everything 70s like we are, crazy and bent. I think
I'm glad we picked it for you, Doc.
I'm glad I picked it as well. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was definitely going to be one that we covered at some point, and as soon as I found it, I was like, yeah, we got to do this. The best scene is him climbing up that chute. Because that was when it actually worked, and it was tense. But you knew he was going to land, and there was only one place for him to land. And I was just waiting to see how that happened, and it was satisfying as much as it could be, I suppose, for this type of film. It was a long fall. It was a long fall. He would have been a little bit more mushy when he landed, but that's fine. That's fine. You can only get away with so much, I suppose.
Right.
So that, or anytime the bats were doing their thing, or when they found the lady all beat up by the bats.
Yeah,
that was fun too. But there you go. Check it out, Chosen Survivors. Get it from Kino Lorber. Thank you. I could not get that out of my face. Or watch it on YouTube. It's the same. We're not recommending that, by the way. We're recommending buying it. Let's move on because we have some feedback.
We got food for everybody.
Food back, ladies and gentlemen. Feedback.
Give me my food back.
And I'm going to shut up now and turn this over to Jeff because he's going to handle it with much more style and finesse.
Well,
Jeff, what is our feedback?
Well, let's rotate this because there's quite a few, if that's possible. But I will take the first one. Grave of the Vampire, episode 129 from Kathy Chapman. Well, let's see. I'm really confused by this movie. The date on the banner at the frat house in the beginning is 1940. The guy with the girl at the beginning looks 40. It's a crazy movie. I'd love to see it if Bill remade this movie.
Yes.
This one is nuts. I think we brought that up even in the podcast. Yeah. Oh, and the girl he rapes, she could have been a quarter mile down the road if she'd have quit that screaming and ran.
True.
Kathy, that's
totally
awesome.
with you. Totally with you.
Yes.
You're not wrong.
Well, let's see. Bill, you want to take Mikey Z here for
Mikey Z? Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, 1974. Mikey Z says, saw this in the 70s when it appeared on midday TV on a local New York City station. I think I saw this after seeing Terror of Mechagodzilla and found this to be an inferior film to that one. I agree. This retained a lot of the goofy campiness of the 70s kiddie Godzilla outings where less realistic plot points fell by the wayside in favor of more wrestling among the kaiju. As Bill mentioned, my favorite shot is when the real Godzilla has a WTF moment when he realizes that his opponent is not what he appears to be. I always found King Caesar to be an ineffectual kaiju like Minya from the 60s films. While this does fare better than Godzilla vs. Gigan, I prefer Godzilla vs. Megalon over this. For reasons I will reveal when or if you guys ever touch that Jerry Chandler and my own beloved kaiju fest. Not my fave, just beloved. Nothing, with maybe the exception of Shin Godzilla, approaches the visceral impact of the 1954 original. Good choice of words. Great podcast by the Grue Crew. Nice to know this was Jeff's first kaiju exposure as a Decades of Horror observer. Keep on being awesome. Thank you.
Keep on being awesome.
That's not true. Because we did
We're not awesome?
No, we did 3 of them on Classic Era before. The ones on 70s that I was in. We did Godzilla, Rodan, and War of the Gargantuans.
No, there's a good one. All right, who do you want to read the next one there, sir? Jeff, you pick.
Mr. Chad.
For Reflection of Fear?
Yes, please.
Okay. Lone Wolf says, oh, wow, I thought I was the only person on this planet who thought the movie Rat Boy existed. Oddly enough, that movie would constantly be shown on HBO and became another staple of my 80s childhood. I've never seen Reflection of Fear before, but hearing you guys talk about it made me think of the little girl who lives down the lane, except it's weirder. I've seen Robert Shaw in other films besides Jaws, and he was a superb actor who could have gotten many more Oscars. He has a son who recently cosplayed as Quint. I saw that, and he looks just like him.
He's doing a play, too. I mean, he's doing more than just cosplaying. They did a Jaws play, and he does the whole speech and everything. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I think you said somebody linked us that. Did you do that, Chad? Yeah, I remember that.
I think so at one time. Yeah, the two of them side by side was amazing. Funny you guys mentioned Clint Eastwood being an a-hole to Sandra Locke because I felt like his role in The Beguiled brought out that personality somewhat. Here's some suggestions for you guys. Don't Torture a Duckling, House from 1977, and Don't Be Afraid of the Dark from 1973.
Ooh.
Good choices.
I think I replied to this and told him we did House.
We have done that. Yes, that's a
the
strange one.
Japanese one that we did. But yeah, Fulci. I keep thinking about Don't Torture a Duckling just because it's one of the strangest movie titles.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll do the next one. Lone Wolf is back again for episode 169 of.
Just a second. I'm sorry, but I think Don't Be Afraid of the Dark is the original of the one that was out a few years ago with Guy Pearce and
it was the original was a TV movie, but a good TV movie.
It was one of the best, one of the best TV movies out there. Yeah, yeah. That's what in the 70s they actually made good TV,
good
movies.
Ones. Oh yeah,
on occasion, right? On occasion there was good ones. There was a lot of schlock. Yeah. Night Stalker.
Kiss Meets the Phantom.
Salem's Lot. Kiss Meets the Phantom.
We're gonna do that movie. I'm telling you.
We are gonna do that.
As soon as they let it play somewhere, which I don't think Kiss is gonna let happen. All right, Star Crash, episode 169. Lone Wolf says, "At least this movie isn't Frankenstein Island." Am I right?
You're right.
Star Crash is full of that stupid kind of fun, but never something I'd watch for the exact same reason. Caroline Munro makes any bad movie easier to swallow, while Joe Spinell just acts like his usually nutty self. Christopher Plummer and Hasselhoff are just added pieces of duct tape trying to hold this mess together. The title Star Crash is fitting because it definitely feels like it took a nosedive. I'm wishing a speedy recovery for Chad, and I hope he's burning every copy of Fury of the Wolfman.
Well, it is a quest of mine to burn and destroy every copy of this film, and I feel like I'm about 15% into it. Yeah,
you got a long way to go, sir.
Yeah, but thank you.
I'll read the next one as well from Evil Genius. He goes, I am still talking about Star Crash. I love this movie. I had to rewatch it before I gave my thoughts. You're brave, sir. This is a B movie with a decent budget done right. It's Moonraker crossed with Star Wars crossed with I, Claudius. It's all a group of actors getting together for a paycheck, but also putting in a decent day. Christopher Plummer giving us his finest space punk, Marcus Aurelius. I don't know who that is. And damn if he did have
Roman
a fine.
Emperor, dude.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
And damn did he have a fine throne.
He did.
Carolyn Munro running around in lovely outfits doing stuff. The Hoff getting ready to do his big Knight Rider breakout. Lucio Fulci directing in the lighting and spirit. But pretty close. Pretty colors in those space battles. I don't know what he's going for there, but I'll go with it. We had Marjo Gortner Atcon as Obi-Wan Kenobi crossed with Tom Baker Doctor Who.
Oh, man.
That's actually accurate.
Yes, and
Disney Plus is working on it right now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Joe Spinell chewing up the scenery as the Count. What is not to love about this horribly dumb but loaded with charm movie? There is no logic in this movie, but it doesn't really need it. Turn your brain off and have at it. Yes, yes. Jeff, you finish us off with Mikey Z.
All right. Also for 169 Star Crash, Mikey Z says, saw this in the late 70s as a double feature in one of those 42nd Street theaters frequented by the late Black Saint with that bonk on the head flick, The Shape of Things to Come.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Upon reflection, I wonder if he and I might have seen some of those 70s, 80s lovelies simultaneously, unbeknownst to me. Badly dubbed Italia Star Warsian take that has so many tans genitals.
Tans of genitals. I don't know what that is.
Oh.
Well, I do, but
it's a classic era staple.
Yeah.
Don't staple the genitals.
We Chad coined the phrase when we were on a classic era podcast where we said somebody had trouble saying tangential.
Oh.
Chad tried to help him out.
And I said, genitals. Where do you get them done?
Wow.
Oh,
I love it. It's cross podcast wit here.
Yes.
How would we call it wit?
We're going to start making T-shirts with some of these sayings. You know, we can market this.
All right. I lost my place.
Tan genitals.
How many tans genitals?
Get your genitals tanned at Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
Ouch.
Carolyn Monroe does what
it's a
she
t-shirt.
can, but then she doesn't have to do much to make this easier to swallow. Joe
There's a lot of
Spinell
swallowing going
hams
on. What does
it
that
up.
mean?
Where are we going with
Yeah.
this?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Joe Spinell hands it up as the evil what else count who controls the Black Hand in space. Yeah. Mafia
Interesting.
reference. Look it up. Christopher
Mm.
Plummer, barely audible, and then when he shatter pauses so much that the film is padded out by probably 10 minutes. Shatner pauses.
Shatner.
Gortner and Hasselhoff have a perm
Perm
off.
off.
Yeah, I was with that.
Man.
A green-faced Thor who does not wield a mighty hammer. A deep south accented droid who should have been obliterated to pieces and deployed out into space so as not to reemerge ever again. Great podcast, guys. Miss Chad. Did he feel ill, sir?
Hmm.
After
another
seeing and
callback.
recommending, after seeing and recommending this murder,
That's shit.
Murder.
keep being awesome, guys. Much love.
Isn't that a turd? Isn't murder a turd, or am I making that?
I think you might be making that up.
I think
don't know.
I think I might be
Maybe
thinking
it-
married is shit.
Merida.
Merida. Okay. Keep being awesome, guys. Much love. P.S. Killdozer is currently on YouTube. Not a bad print either.
Yeah.
Well,
You know what? There was a time in my life if I saw Marjo Gortner was going to be in a movie, I wouldn't go see it just on that fact alone.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God, he annoyed the hell out of me as a kid. I'll go back and watch stuff now, like Food of the Gods
In what?
and all that. In nothing. I didn't say it was in anything, but
Oh, he just annoyed the hell out of you. Yeah.
yeah, he just, as a kid, when I was a kid, I
Right.
would see him.
No,
and
Was it
And
because
part
of
of-
earthquake? Was it because
part of the
earthquake?
reason it was the perm, man. I couldn't deal with
Yeah.
the perm.
I remember him most from Earthquake as the bad guy that tries to get a hold of.
I feel like he was in
Yeah.
one of those That's Incredible TV shows or something.
Oh,
and
I'm
he
sure.
just seemed way too excitable for my taste. But
All right, so here's
Well, we
your.
had a lot of practice, with this.
yeah,
Let's just say you don't. You don't walk away from the show without learning something.
Mhm.
Murda is Portuguese for shit,
Oh, okay.
oh,
There we
much,
go.
much like merde is French for shit.
Right.
wow. It's like they're on the same continent or something.
So when somebody says I'm going to murder you,
I'm gonna shit you.
they just want
That
to
doesn't make any
you.
sense.
They're probably German.
Yeah.
Here we are again, Chad.
Scheißen
2 days in a row on podcast talking about shit.
poop.
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 Yeah.
Because
Poop
Poop's
follows
funny.
us around.
Well,
yeah.
we also did it on She-Hulk this week as well.
so 3 in a
Oh.
row.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because there was literally a reference in She-Hulk episode 2. They
To
had
poop.
the map to the best place to poop
in the
Oh.
in the
in the
the
office, the
building.
best restaurant.
Did
restaurant
She-Hulk
not
wreck
restaurant.
someone's toilet? I mean, I think
Well,
she
wouldn't
could.
she? The Hulk size. All right, let's move along. What's our next episode, Jeff?
Well, it's
I
one
don't-
picked by me, and my apologies to David Ruggiero. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he requested Blue Sunshine a long time ago, and when we went to do it, it was gone, and now it's back. And I told him I would do it, but as I always do, I got sidetracked, and we're going to do Lady Snowblood instead.
Ooh, yes.
But next time. I've wanted to do this for a while, and it's on HBO Max.
Ooh,
It's a good one.
If you haven't seen it, you will see echoes of
Kill Bill.
Kill Bill,
Yeah.
so it's an inspiration
original
for Kill Bill, right?
Oh,
created echoes that became Kill Bill. Anyway, so
That's gonna
Lady
be
Snowblood.
interesting for us. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, me too.
bloody.
Everybody duck. All right, well, there you go. That's our review for Chosen Survivors. Check it out and let us know what you thought about it in the comments down below. And if you like, we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you, sir. And if you like this podcast, hit the like and subscribe button or share with a friend. It'll help us do wonders. And
Please,
Jeff
please.
has something else to say.
Oh, I picked Japanese films just to see Doc pronounce the.
Oh, I'm going to pass on all that. Toshiya Fujita is the director, and that's about all you're going to get. because that's not right.
Close enough.
Fujita? Toshia Fujita? I suck at this.
4,000 bats can't be wrong.
Yeah.
4,000 bats can't be wrong. All right. Jeff, Bill, and of course, the Chosen Sufferer. Thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, good time.
It's always fun with you guys.
There's that coming.
Yes. I always think we're getting close to the end. No, there's so much more. There's so much more to do.
Yeah.
And it's gonna get worse.
Yes, it's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets any better.
There are good ones still left to do. We're holding in our pockets, but there's some really bad ones out there too.
We're not quite scraping the bottom of the barrel, but we can hear the scrape.
We can smell it.
From the feedback we had today, there's a lot of people that think those bottom of the barrel ones are awesome. So
and they are.
And they often are for the very
and
reason
they
that they're
often
at the bottom of the barrel. But all right,
they are.
let's get out of here, guys, and say good night.
Night,
Night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.